Oh my goodness, it is time for another Disneyland Resort update. Hello, my friends. It's Wade for the Kingdom Report, back here with you to cover all things news and developments when it comes to the happiest place on Earth. We are here at the Mickey & Friends parking structure where, I think it's worth noting, it took me 42 minutes just to get from Disneyland Drive to my parking space in the garage. I arrived at 6:30 a.m. when parking first opened up, and it took me 42 minutes to get from Disneyland Drive to parking space. If you're somebody that's getting here extra early, specifically to get to Disneyland so that you can grab those Rise of the Resistance boarding passes, keep in mind it will take 42 minutes, if not more, when you tack on additional screening for security and waiting for the tram to get you to the front of the park. So about an hour before you even reach Disneyland's gates. Now here at the Mickey & Friends parking structure, you definitely see construction is wrapped up on the brand new bank of elevators. It is so nice to finally have that added efficiency. It is something that is long overdue and very nice to see. And now that construction is pretty much done here in the sort of esplanade of the parking garage, things are very nice, very open. The music is cheerful. Everything in here is a great guest experience. Now, the one thing that isn't a great guest experience, that hour-long wait before you get to Disneyland Park. So I chose, rather than go through security screening here at the structure and rather than wait for the tram, I'm just going to take the walkway, the pedestrian bridge, on over to Downtown Disney. I saved probably a good 15 minutes in that process. Security screening tents here on the Downtown Disney side have far less people sort of commanding their attention, so it's a lot easier to streamline on through. Downtown Disney, the West End here as we arrive, well, it's flanked by pretty much empty buildings right now, as that hotel project that fell through a few years back, well, it continues to just be a sad state of affairs down here. Unless you're Earl of Sandwich, you're the only business on this end really still popping and hanging in. ESPN Zone there, which was a Mickey pop-up last year for the big guy's birthday, sits vacant right now. You see Rainforest Cafe also still in mothballs. Asian Street Eats moved in front of it as sort of a counter option. And then AMC Theater just turned into basically a seating area right in front of the theater itself. They've done as much as they can to dress the area up. It's just still so dark and sad. As we move our way up through Downtown Disney towards the parks, well, look at that. It looks like Jamba Juice minus the juice is back. Yeah, after many months of a renovation, Jamba, as it is now known, has recently reopened, and it is a fresh, new, modern, sleek look inside. Very, very nice to have Jamba, a long tenant of Downtown Disney, back in action. And I didn't necessarily think that they could really push back any further than they already had when it came to their most recent setup in terms of how deep the place could be, because a lot of these storefronts are not all that big. There's a reason why. It's because Downtown Disney isn't all that big. But you take a look around here, they were able to push back even more so in terms of operating space, and it makes for a much better environment for everybody, both workers and for guests. But this area, including this cool light-up board here, definitely make for a great new experience. It's nice, clean, and fresh. Great to have Jamba back in action and bringing us all the refrigerated grab-and-go options that you could want. We move ahead to the Disneyland Resort main entrance plaza, where if it seems like people are moving quite fast, it's because they are. It's 7:35 a.m. in real time at this point. 8 a.m. is when the park opens. Everybody is getting themselves in line so that they could be admitted into the park to secure a Rise of the Resistance boarding pass. I got to share with you, if this is something you want to do, keep in mind these lines do not move fast. It is very rare to see a line out here move fast, especially when everybody's doing the same thing. And it took 22 minutes from the back of the line to the point where I was admitted, and I got in just shy of 8 a.m., so I was able to secure a boarding group. But if you were or you were not able to get a boarding group, the long shuffle down Main Street is customary for everybody as the park opens for the first time in a day. So everybody moves on down through Main Street and then disperses into the Magic Kingdom, wherever they'd like to go. And we will disperse into Tomorrowland, where just outside of Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, you see some facade work has finally wrapped up here. Yeah, on this external portion just outside of Astro Blasters, finally the tile work that has been under wraps for several months is all complete. Looks really good, and when the sun hits it just right, looks spectacular. And then this new plant life has been installed with some unique sort of props that look like plant bowls almost. I suppose I suppose that's futuristic. I just don't know. But it looks good regardless. And definitely, like I said, when the sun hits this area just right, looking good. Glad that they were able to install these on both sides, both on the Astro Blasters and Star Tours side. The Star Tours side wrapped up here not too long ago, so just before Astro Blasters, and the Plant Life also got installed on that side. And located directly across from the attraction itself is the Old Star Tours distribution for FastPass, where I don't know why the sign is still there, because it has been completely converted into a Rise of the Resistance boarding group issuing site. If you don't have the Disneyland app and can't do it online, this is the place you come for hard copies. Unfortunately, nobody's able to get them because they're gone in an instant, so these poor cast members have to stand here and basically just tell people all morning, yeah, sorry, no, we were out within 2 minutes, and it all happened virtually in a digital capacity, so sorry about that. You see here the exit of Space Mountain right next to Starcade, the emergency exit staircase that they've been working on for months that goes from the top of the Space Mountain platform and brings you back down to the ground is just about finished, has a few more tarps left around the base and at the top of the structure. I'd imagine that will be back in full effect and ready for emergency access here very shortly. Onward has moved in as a preview for sneak peek at the Magic Eye Theater, displacing Star Wars Path of the Jedi, and then located directly in front of the theater are the only 4 FastPass machines that you can go to inside Tomorrowland to get your FastPasses, where if you don't opt for the new $20 upcharge Max Pass and you still want to get FastPasses for free, well, this is how you do it. And yeah, another wait in line. How about that? So more lines, more waits if you don't want to opt for the $20 expenditure of Max Pass. Speaking of FastPass, over here, Autopia has recently been added to the FastPass lineup for Disneyland once again. And this is an attraction that, much like most attractions, if you add FastPass and there isn't a certain demand that the attraction already has, occasionally the line can become even longer than it needs to be if FastPass is then added on as an option. This is one of those attractions where Autopia, unfortunately, does get backup wait times due to FastPass being added. Here at Finding Nemo's Submarine Voyage, just a quick moment to showcase that the seagulls from the movie found a real seagull friend. Yeah, apparently he thinks they're brothers or something. I thought that was kind of cute. Over here in Fantasyland, I rounded the corner and was excited to see the Beast and Belle. How beautiful are they? Meeting and greeting just a handful of guests. I have to share, when you get here extra early and the park just opens, there are a lot of these wonderful character opportunities to enjoy, and they're sprinkled all throughout the Magic Kingdom. This is how it should be. Just a handful of people and really great sort of intimate access to these legendary characters. You see a wonderful group of folks here getting an opportunity to meet the legendary Beast and his beautiful Belle. Such a cool opportunity to meet these classic characters. We move on over just behind them to It's a Small World, where recently facade work is wrapped up on the front of this attraction. It came back from its Christmas overlay last month and had some additional work being done to the facade itself. Looking fresh, looking new, looking good. It's always such a stunning sight when you round that corner in Fantasyland and you see it for the first time, whether it's Christmas or not. Small World definitely always hits you in the heartstrings, doesn't it? As we move into Fantasyland proper, you see there in the heart of it all, in the center of it all, still under wraps, is King Arthur Carousel, still stripped down to its bare bones and being given all of the tender, loving care that it deserves, sort of being rebuilt from the ground up, if you will. This historic attraction is something that absolutely deserves that overhaul and will come back looking brighter and better than ever. Speaking of brighter and better than ever, Snow White's Scary Adventures, just beyond the carousel here, still under wraps, will be until May of this year, being worked on extensively so that all the interior can be sort of updated, refreshed, and even enhanced in some instances. Very much looking forward to this classic attraction returning so that we can see all of the new magic that the Imagineers have been able to pump inside of it, and definitely be able to revisit the old charm of the attraction from the past. You see here next to Sleeping Beauty Castle, it's not just Snow White's Scary Adventures that is under wraps. Nope, it's also the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. Yeah, so directly next door to Snow White's Scary Adventures is the place where your little pumpkin can become a princess. That's right. This location is under wraps, but it's open, so you can still access it via these doorways. It might look a little deceiving, especially given the fact that the path sort of jumps from the ground up to the scrim itself. Definitely something to keep in mind if you've got a little pumpkin you want to turn into a princess yourself. We move into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, where recently on Kingdom Report Live, myself and the team did a deep dive into what's missing from this land and why it just has not taken off the way Disney expected it to. Really great content, really great discussion. Highly suggest you check that out if you have an opportunity to elsewhere here on the channel. Now we venture on around the Critter Country side of the park, and look who's back! It's the Mark Twain Riverboat. What a beauty in all of her glory, returning to the rivers of America after a long, lengthy refurbishment. She is looking more pristine than ever. This really is one of those opening day attractions that I adore. It just has such charm, it's so gorgeous, and just adds such a great energy to the park itself. So happy she's back. Up and over the hill we go, right alongside Splash Mountain now, and looking off in the distance we see the Haunted Mansion. Still under scrim, still getting worked on. Its months-long refurbishment still underway as the interior is being touched up, and it sounds like there's going to be some improved lighting, some added mechanical work will be done, and then on the outside, just getting a paint job with some new trim, so it's going to look good coming back, but going to be kept in its classic state. And as you can see there, original concept art for the attraction, sort of blown up on the scrim so that you can see it from a distance. I think it looks really cool, but certainly not the same as being able to ride it. So it'll be back here real soon. Spring of 2020 is when it's set to reopen. Can't wait for it to return. Tucked over here next to the Harbor Galley is something that you don't really get to see all that often, and that is the sailing ship Columbia is docked. A lot of people don't even know this little nook is back here, and it's something that's really cool because sailing ship Columbia, when it's docked, well, you get to basically reach out and touch the thing. I mean, it's this close, and you never get to touch the front of it, especially the Columbia herself. I mean, she's right there in your face, and I think it's such a cool view. I took a ton of pictures of this just because it's such a unique view, right? It's such a unique perspective on the ship that you really only ever see at a distance, and if you're on it, you can never really get up to the front. You can never get that close to the Columbia herself. But this is an attraction that hopefully will be getting some TLC soon, as the Mark Twain just came back. Maybe she will also be receiving some touch-ups that she deserves in the near future. Over on In Adventureland now, the park had been open for about an hour and some change, and already Indiana Jones Adventure was shutting down due to technical difficulties. This is an attraction that has been plagued for years with randomized shutdowns throughout the day. This attraction itself just cannot seem to get it together. It is slated to be under refurbishment for a significant part of 2020 coming up. It doesn't seem to matter, though. It's been under refurbishment for significant periods of time before, and nothing ever seems to do the trick. I feel bad for not only the guests that are put out by this throughout the day, several times a day, but also the poor cast members that have to stand out here and basically tell people, sorry, we don't know when it's coming up, we have no idea, and they drone on almost irritated that they have to do it because they probably are. Now back here on Main Street, here in the heart of it all at the partner statue, it got me thinking, wouldn't it be fun to take a ride up Main Street? Let's do it. Is there anything more Disneyland than that? I mean, seriously, it is such a special experience being able to take that ride up Main Street aboard the horse-drawn trolley. If you've never done that before, your cares melt away. You feel like you're in a different time. That is the magic of Disneyland. Put that on your list. You got to do that the next time you're visiting the park. Now, as we cross the Esplanade over to California Adventure Park, we arrive, of course, on Buena Vista Street, the Main Street USA equivalent over here, where you can grab yourself a nice cup of coffee, maybe get a souvenir or two, or if you're like me, you want a sweet treat, you're going to stop by the candy store, where just off the street itself, they have their display window where you can watch them work. I adore doing this as well. Also one of those cute little pastime activities where you get to watch the cast members that create the magic. Well, they do it right in front of you. Yeah, and sometimes they'll mime, sometimes they'll do funny things, but more often than not, you get to see the pride they put into their work, and then you get to go in and eat that work. I mean, that sounds like a good, fun time to me. Yeah. Over here in the Grizzly Peak Airfield area, Soarin' Around the World is about to become Soarin' Over California once again for the extended run of the Food and Wine Festival. They've announced that Soarin' Over California is coming back for that limited time. Around the corner we go to Grizzly River Run, looking good after its long winter's nap. Yeah, its big refurbishment is all done. You see here all kinds of pop-in colors. Things are looking fresh and crisp. But you might recall in a prior update where we took a look behind one of the construction walls for this refurbishment that I speculated it might take a little bit longer than even they were projecting. Turns out that I wasn't necessarily wrong. So the attraction itself is back up and running. But as I rounded the path behind the attraction itself, or should I say through the attraction, you'll notice that this sign says work is still underway, and it's true. So further down the path, you'll notice a construction wall is still in place, and there seems to be work going on in that sort of southern tip of the attraction's pathway. So I don't know what's happening down there, but looking forward to seeing if anything new and exciting is there when it comes back up from its refurbishment. Now at the other end of the attraction, you see the first rumblings of California Adventure's Food and Wine Festival. This shack, of course, has a marquee that says artichokes, but the majority of the food shacks that have been installed still don't have their marquee, so we don't necessarily know where each individual food offering is going to be, but California Adventure has released its menus for the festival, so you can check that out at Disneyland.com. As we venture on out to the beautiful Paradise Gardens Amphitheater in the park area, you'll notice that some of the Lunar New Year leftover storefronts are still here. It sounds like they're just going to convert these over to Food and Wine Festival. That's smart. Might as well just convert it as you go along. But something that isn't getting converted as it goes along and doesn't go back to being a restaurant, I should say, that it once was, is Paradise Garden Grill. This is something that every celebration that they have, it kind of is a flex restaurant now, and you never get its Mediterranean menu back. Even though the menu boards do say the menu is back to its former glory, well, the restaurant isn't open, and it says that there's a new menu being inspired right now, which means it's probably going to open for Food and Wine Festival with a different menu again. It'd be nice to see Paradise Garden Grill back with its former menu permanently. It's time to go to Pixar Pier. Let's have some fun.
Time to play along with all the toys. You know your life will never be Montania when you play Mania.
Yes, give it up for Mr. Potato Head, everybody's favorite boardwalk barker out there in front of Toy Story Midway Mania. As we head a little further up the pier here to the Incredicoaster, you'll notice right alongside the exit to the Incredicoaster is a snack option, Jack Jack's Cookie Num Nums. Yeah, I've never had one of these, believe it or not. Always something I've wanted to try, and I figured today is the day. So a Jack Jack Cookie Num Num will run you $6. They do have a gluten-friendly offering, as well as vanilla almond milk and soy milk. So if that's a concern for you, you've got some options here. I went with a traditional Cookie Num Num, and this thing is rather large. I'll give it that. I'll show you by the size of my hand. It's still quite captivating in size, and because I have a huge hand, I don't know if you noticed, but I do have a large hand. But the cookie itself is thick. It's very large, definitely a shareable snack, and I did get the delicious vanilla almond milk as my drink option. I went ahead, dug on into this baby, and it was nice and warm for me, so that's a nice sort of side of it. You know, it's served up warm so that the chocolate chips are melted. You get to have those chocolate chunks that are gooey. It's nice to have that along the pier, nice to have that as an option. The cookie itself isn't anything extraordinary. It's not anything revolutionary. I mean, it's a chocolate chunk cookie is really all it comes down to. I would suggest getting one. I mean, $6 is a little steep for a cookie, I guess, but worst things you could buy. It is a nice sort of accompaniment, little novel, if you will. We swing on into the Pacific Wharf area of the park to see that the Bodine Bakery Tour is back open after a brief refurbishment here as well. I decided, because it's not often that I tour the bakery, that I step inside to see if anything had changed. Nothing noticeable. I think there was some fresh paint that was added. Maybe some equipment had been upgraded within the kitchen environment itself inside the bakery. But otherwise, everything is par for course here. You still get your sample bread when you walk in. And the whole area seems to be sort of clean and tidy and just well maintained from the refurbishment. The other thing that I noticed is that here at the bakery tour, things remain the same in that the tour is still hosted on a loop by Rosie O'Donnell and Colin Mokry, both of which have been there since it opened in 2001, and it might be worth updating the video from hosts that are relevant from this decade, perhaps. Just saying. Nothing against those two, just a personal recommendation. It seems like it's old in the tooth, and a lot of folks, especially kids, might not know who either of those two are at this point. We move into Cars Land, where I am at Luigi's Casa della Tires. And back here on the track, you notice that there is still construction work going on right behind the attraction. This was predominantly a space that was used when it was the flying saucer type ride before they moved over to this Wi-Fi wireless track technology where the cars sort of move in unison together. This is where they had the majority of the vents staged and a lot of the air compressors and stuff like that. Well, without that, they've just got a lot of open space, and looks like they are building a backstage facility at this point. As we move through the land, we're at Tow Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, where several of his turntables for the ride are under refurbishment at the moment, which means the ride is at reduced capacity. When this happens, this ride is typically 5 to 15 minutes waiting. Well, at this point, because the capacity is reduced, you run into 25 to 35 minutes of wait for this attraction, and might I suggest not waiting unless you have a child that absolutely wants to ride it. It's just a personal preference. I would not wait longer than 15 minutes for this attraction. Go spend your time on something a little bit more thrilling. You see beyond the walls here the external facade work of Avengers Campus. We're going to move over to a much better place to get a much better vantage point here. And this area looks to be wrapping up. So we've covered it a lot in past updates. We've talked about how it looks and things that are changing. And there's some brickwork that's been added to the external facade. You see a lot of things that have been put in place. This area right here, though, this sort of white area with the shape in the middle, that is something that when we were last here already had red paneling on the outside of it. Think like Circuit City, kind of look like that. And that's now been stripped, and they're going to do something else to it. So they're already making changes to this environment, which means that they weren't satisfied, and so they're going back to the drawing board with how it should look. But it looks like this main building right here is, like I said, brickwork has been sort of canvassed on the front of the building. They've already sort of installed a lot of the antennas and things to make it look like a global facility. So it looks like things are already being set up for an opening on that end. But then we move to the back side over by the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. And you see here, not only have they added along the wall's top portion an additional scrim, but you kind of get the idea that not a whole lot's going on back here, based purely on zero progress from the last time we were around a couple weeks ago. But I did find this hole in the wall, and so I took a look, and this kind of confirmed for me that a lot of the space in the back is still in need of attention. The facilities, the structures back here, even more so what I could see in person, it appeared that there's just a lot more that still needs to be done on the back end, and it doesn't look anywhere near complete. And the ground especially, it's still all dirt. So everything is just in a state of flux at the moment, and we will see what happens moving forward. But I know that they have an opening coming up, and hopefully they can get it all taken care of before that. Back here in Hollywoodland, you'll notice lots of facade work going on at the Hyperion Theater, the one spot people love to take photos at, right here in the Hollywoodland section. You'll notice they just tossed up this image of like generic Hollywood Hills. I don't know why they didn't write Hollywoodland on it, since that's the theme of the land. Maybe they didn't think people would get it. At any rate, the scaffolding has pushed out Captain America from his normal meet and greet spot here, and walls have gone up. Now it's forced him over into this corner, this Avengers corner, if you will. This area is so congested now, and so Captain America meets back here with sort of this pieced together rope queue area, and then back behind him is Black Panther, so you can snake back there to meet him if you'd like. But even behind the Captain America set itself is another location you can meet a character, and this is for Captain Marvel. That's her plane. So this whole area is just kind of a mess. It's kind of congested, and I don't think it was really thought through very well. At any rate, it'll be nice to have Avengers Campus come online and have a home for all of these superheroes, a home that they deserve. Speaking of a mess, though, Monsters, Inc., Mike and Sully to the rescue. They've recently been added to the Fast Pass lineup to sort of add value to the Max Pass. Since you got to pay $20 for it now, they wanted to add more Fast Pass options for you. Mike and Sully traditionally is a ride that you wait, 5 to 15, maybe 20 minutes at most for. But since it has been added back to the Fast Pass queue, this is something that has sent wait times skyrocketing. Here at 10:30 in the morning, it's already at 45 minutes. And the cast member outside told me that it routinely will get to an hour to an hour and a half for a standby wait now because Fast Pass has been added. Right next door to this area is Stage 17. Stage 17 is often the festival center for events like your Food and Wine Festival, but it seems to be going through a bit of an identity crisis. This marquee, I don't even remember what this was used for. Maybe Tron, I don't know at this point. I'm so confused. Then the barricades, I don't know what script that is from. Maybe it's Black Panther when he met here. I don't recall. You'll notice a lot of paneling coverage is gone. I think those are being washed for when this becomes a festival center again. There's some scaffolding work going on as well. And I think inside Stage 17 is still Arendelle, still from when Frozen did its Winter Fun celebration in there. So it's a place in identity crisis, and hopefully we'll see it get utilized real soon for something more permanent. Well, my friends, this has been your Disneyland Resort Update. I have had so much fun. If you haven't already, make sure that you've subscribed, you've liked the content, and if you know somebody that would appreciate it, go ahead and share this Disney content with a Disney fan. And speaking of content, we've got new stuff for you every Tuesday, Thursday, and our live show Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Hey, we'll see you next time. This has been Wade for the Kingdom Report. I love you.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.